There was a piece I saw in, there is no Time magazine anymore, it's Time Online, which caused me great concern and frustration. It's obvious right now, who knows, it could change, that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are in the lead of the Republican nomination. It's also obvious that Donald Trump is significantly in the lead in a number of places. Now, this primary process is a fair fight. I mean, I know the candidates whine like stuck pigs if somebody tweets something or somebody used a photo they don't like. First of all, they really need to man up. That's barely dirty politics. But that aside, the ruling class Republican Party in Washington, D.C. does not want Donald Trump or Ted Cruz to get the nomination. And as I speak behind this microphone, they are now plotting to prevent them from getting the nomination on the convention floor. And I want you to hear about this because you should be as furious as I am about this. It's time for all the jostling and jockeying taking place in South Carolina ahead of this weekend's Republican primary. Little of it will be decisive, they write. The growing consensus among many senior Republicans is that there are three likely outcomes facing Republicans. Donald Trump could win enough delegates to be the nominee, Ted Cruz could do the same, or no candidate emerges from the final primaries on June 7 with the required 1,037 delegates to win when the intra-party convention starts in Cleveland. Now let's stop right there first. That's an amazing thing. None of the establishment candidates, according to this piece even, from a liberal news outlet, apparently has a chance of winning the Republican nomination. Now, we got to be mindful and careful of this and constantly look over our shoulders. I don't write these people off ever. It goes on. That means the remaining candidates with a claim to party establishment backing, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Ohio Governor John Kasich, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, see their chances for winning the nomination before the July convention dwindling. National and early state polls have shown Trump and Cruz polling with a combined share of more than half of party voters. The also-rans do not have a clear path, barring a sudden collapse in support of Trump or Cruz, to cobble together sufficient support to put up a roadblock to outsiders' aggressions, even if two of the candidates agreed to drop out to unite behind the third. So this guy, these reporters, so-called, are sitting there, they're looking at the stats. Then it goes on. This uncertainty is informing strategy, with candidates and operatives plotting courses deep into the calendar in hopes of picking up as many delegates as possible. Until March 15, every state awards delegates using some form of proportional allocation, meaning there are multiple winners for each contest. But on that date, March 15, Florida and Ohio vote in the first true winner-take-all races, which are likely to favor the home state favorite and establishment candidates, though Trump now leads the Florida polls by a significant amount. That's why Bush, Rubio, and Kasich are all looking forward to the moment when they can keep campaigning but still sleep in their own bed. Now, from a delegate perspective, stick with me on this. The race is still a toss-up. Just 2% of the 2,472 convention delegates have been awarded in Iowa and New Hampshire. The rewards have been little more than headlines. What's changed, strategists say, is the realization that Cruz and Trump's support is not fading after Iowa. Trump has proven he has staying power with actual voters, and Cruz is about to hit his fertile ground, said one campaign strategist, and by that they mean the South. On March 1, 13 states, this is Super Tuesday, will hold primaries to award 571 delegates, including Texas, Arkansas, and Alabama. They are states where Cruz is expected to perform well, where Trump, meanwhile, has led Massachusetts polls and is expected to do well in Vermont. The nationalization of the race after Saturday's primary in South Carolina will, in strategists' view, continue the trend, as it has in recent contests, If they're all getting delegates, then no one is going to get the required delegates, and you're going to have a contested convention, said Republican lawyer, RNC rules guru Ben Ginsberg. Now, this guy Ginsberg is trouble. He's a paid and bought-for slip-and-fall lawyer who represents the Republican establishment, who works on the RNC rules for the purpose of screwing conservatives, for the purpose of screwing the Tea Party last time. Now, we know the Democrat Party is the party of the totalitarians, that it doesn't matter how well Bernie Sanders, speaking of totalitarians, does. They've got their superdelegates. And the purpose of the superdelegates is to make sure that whomever the anointed Democrat candidate is going in is the anointed Democrat candidate coming out. But in the Republican Party, our process, at least in the past, has been more open. So here you have the Republican establishment slip and fall bastard lawyers inside the Beltway scheming yet again. And they wonder why we're furious. One scenario for the establishment lane is for a single establishment candidate to emerge after March 1, with Rubio, Bush, or Kasich suspending their campaigns. But those three, their egos are so massive, they won't be suspending them anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. But Jeb Bush what's it say here? But Jeb Bush had promised he's in it for the long haul. Current polls suggest Rubio will beat both of them in South Carolina. Kasich is convinced Ohio, the swingiest of swing states, will have his back. See, they're all winning just enough, or their egos are so big, they're not going to get out. And by the way, that hurts Cruz, because on one-on-one matchup with Trump, he beats Trump in Republican primaries, not these open primaries, in actual Republican primaries where states only allow Republicans to vote. Kasich has left behind the traditional campaign map, escaping South Carolina for a two-day jaunt in Michigan, which votes March 8, and plans to spend primary day in Vermont and Massachusetts, both voting March 1. The three proportional voting states offer a better chance at picking up delegates and keeping his campaign in the mix until the Ohio primary or March 15, when he stands the opportunity to pick up all 66 delegates. Let's stop here. Isn't it amazing we have Republican candidates running in primaries trying to avoid the South? If you're a Republican candidate and you're weak in the South, what are you going to do? You're going to win the presidency in New England, in New Hampshire, in Vermont? Just thought I'd note that. Another scenario, let's see here, is for Bush, Kasich, and Rubio to stay in the race, dividing up the vote that does not go to Trump and Cruz. Now, in this scenario, listen to this, they could collectively gather enough delegates to deny Cruz or Trump the nomination at the convention. The way I look at it, says this Svengali Ginsberg, maybe it's a rationalization, but as long as they pull roughly a third of the vote between them, it's the same result as if one of them was there. What he's saying is all the establishment candidates together might get a third of the vote, but it's enough to stop Trump and or Cruz from getting the nomination, and that's what they intend to do on the floor at the Republican convention if they can. That's what they're scheming to do. If no candidate wins majority of the delegate votes on the first ballot at the convention, party rules allow most of the delegates to change their vote to a different candidate, possibly allowing for a nominee to emerge who received less popular support in primaries and caucuses. The final rules for this battle will be set by the delegates themselves in Cleveland. The final rules will be set by the delegates in Cleveland. This is when the notorious Reince Priebus and hack lawyers like Ben Ginsberg do their dirty work, which is why I, singularly, have been demanding that Reince Priebus resign, because he's lousy and he's up to no good, and all these hack moderators, those were his decisions in these debates. They may think we're divided among Trump and Cruz and to some extent Carson. They pull this stuff, we will be united to defeat anybody that they'd propose. Because then they're not playing by the rules. Then they're trying to ram one down our throats. Then we're going to lose for sure in the general election, and we'll have to deal with Hillary Clinton. Or if she's in prison, Joe Biden. Is that not stunning, ladies and gentlemen? That they're already plotting for a convention takeover? Justin, Fort Worth, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
So the RNC in 2012 already rigged the rules in favor, and Ben Ginsburg was the guy that strong-armed the Rules Committee to do it.
And let me slow you down. And I announced it at the time. This guy Ginsburg is truly their slip-and-fall Svengali, and they did. Go ahead.
Well, but so here's what a lot of people don't understand, though, is once it becomes a broker convention, the delegates can vote for whoever they want. The candidates don't control the delegates. The delegates vote. So if it does become brokered, it doesn't matter how many delegates that the establishment candidates control.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that they want to steal this election. They want these three, also-rans to stay in, to deny, so they get a third of the delegates or so, to deny a majority to either Trump and or Cruz. Am I correct?
Look up Rule 40D, which gives it to the establishment candidate.
All right, my friend. Yeah, I'm very concerned about this. That's why I'm banging the pots and pans and ringing the alarms over this. I'll be right back. I want to get back to this issue of a Republican convention. This is a real possibility. I'm not saying it's a certainty. But the usual, I don't even know what to call them. The hacks inside the Beltway. The $1,000 an hour Republican slip-and-fall lawyers. They're paymasters in the Senate, in the House, at the RNC. They're up to no damn good. As Cruz would call them, it's the cartel. It is a cartel. And they are now plotting not to prevent Jeb Bush from being the nominee, not to prevent Kasich from being the nominee, not to prevent Rubio from being the nominee. Rubio, who on the one hand pretends to be a conservative, while he's whispering to all the establishment guys on the other side. Let me tell you something. They are plotting against Trump and Cruz. So while the Trump guys and the Cruz guys are duking it out and fighting it out, these guys are laughing because they're figuring, you know what? Let them win. Let them get 60% of the vote. Let them get 60% of the delegates. We can stop them with 40%. We can stop them with a third. Because they can't get a majority. Together they can't get a majority. And one of the reasons I am so furious and have been with Donald Trump in the last few months is by taking the low road when it comes to Cruz. These two guys together can take the whole damn thing. But it makes it difficult, if not impossible, when certain things are said, one candidate to the other, and candidate supporters to the other supporters. It makes it almost impossible. So the establishment's laughing the whole way, and they're plotting, because that's what they do best. They plot in the shadows and they plot behind our backs. This is not a joke. This is serious. If it is a quote-unquote broker convention, they win. They win. I've seen brokered conventions. I'm old enough to remember them. They're ugly. But the establishment is not going to give up very easily, ladies and gentlemen. They've got so much at stake in big government. They are rich off of big government. They are powerful off of big government. I've been telling you this for years. I've been writing about it for years. I don't need others to tell us. As I have said for years, the biggest problem a conservative will have is the Republican establishment. If you're under 45, you haven't had a chance to vote for a conservative for president of the United States because the Republicans will not allow us to nominate one. And they fought like hell to stop Reagan. They fought like hell in 68 at the convention floor. They fought like hell in 76 to destroy him. And finally in 80, he broke through. And he broke through. And what happened when he broke through? He won 2 historic massive landslides, whether measured by popular vote or electoral college. And even more than that, he helped the country. His policies were spectacular. Massive economic growth, the defeat of the Soviet Union, a sound dollar. America really was happy again. America really was vibrant again. It really is the difference between liberty and tyranny. I'll be right back. Here's my advice. My advice to the Cruz and Trump campaigns is that, at least in this respect, with respect to this convention, that they send their lawyers over to the Republican National Committee immediately, demand a meeting with Reince Priebus and his lawyers, and find out exactly what these people are plotting. I feel certain Karl Rove is behind this, among others. So here we are duking it out on the issues, duking it out street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, state by state. People are contributing money to the candidates and to these political action committees because they want to get their message out. They want to support a particular candidate. People are making phone calls. They're volunteering. They're knocking on doors. People are really focused, and they're interested, and they're active. And we have a Republican Party in Washington, D.C., and operatives for a Republican Party that are fully prepared to blow out all of it. Now, I will tell you this. If there is a convention, and Trump and Cruz have the overwhelming majority of the delegates, but the ruling class rhinos are able to prevent a majority from going to one or the other or both, and then the delegates are pushing for somebody who, A, either didn't run in any of the primaries, or B, is one of the losers in the primaries, I can tell you right now, I will not vote for that Republican. No way. And they can't blame you and me for electing Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Ernie Grabotsky or Joe Schmo or whomever else. This is a corrupt party. This is a party that rejects the consent of the governed. This is a party that rejects its own members. Now, whether you like Donald Trump or not is beside the point. If he runs and he wins fair and square, then he wins. If he runs and he wins fair and square, he wins. And the same for Cruz. And yes, the same for Rubio. But it's obvious that you got three candidates here, two in particular, who are staying in this race for a reason. And I have to conclude now that the reason isn't to actually win the nomination fair and square, but to steal it. They're fronts for the Republican establishment. The Republican establishment can't even cobble together 40% of the Republican vote. So what are they doing? They want as many of these guys to stay in as possible at this point. That's what I think. You know, my working theory before was that this would help Trump and Cruz. It does help Trump and Cruz, but at a brokered convention, it helps the establishment. Because the way you and I are looking at it is honestly, with integrity. We're saying, okay, you got Trump and Cruz and Carson, these other three. As long as the other three are taking votes from each other, Trump or Cruz are likely to win. The establishment is looking at it, hey, stay in. We know you're going to lose. Just get enough votes to deny one of them a majority, and we'll take it to the convention floor, and then we'll own the process, because we wrote the rules, and we stacked the House. What kind of a party is that? It's like the old Soviet party. Now, Reince Priebus, who is, to put it bluntly, a coward, he only goes on programs where they kiss his knee. Reince Priebus would never come on this program. And I guess if I'm Reince Priebus, I'd never come on this program either, because he's not going to be honest, he's not going to be straightforward and forthcoming, and he doesn't want me asking the questions. He wants Regretta to ask him the questions. Or some other dupe. So the question to Reince Priebus and all of his $1,000 an hour slip and fall hack lawyers is this. Why don't you tell us flat out what your plans are? tell us flat out, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't donate 1 penny to the Republican Party. I don't. If you support a candidate, then support the candidate directly. If you support a cause, support the cause directly. Don't have your hard-earned money, your donation, filtered through, laundered through the bureaucracy at the RNC and the establishment there, where off the top they pay themselves these big salaries. Do not contribute to the National Republican Senatorial Committee. It was a disgrace the other day when Mitch McConnell sent out an email under the National Republican Senatorial Committee email address asking you to sign a petition to support his position on Antonin Scalia. And by the way, make a donation. Make a donation? Antonin Scalia just died, you jerk. They can't help themselves. They can't stop. It's endless. They're power hungry. It's insatiable. And what damn good does it do for the rest of us? They won't even stand up and fight an imperial lawless president. They won't even stand up and defend the Constitution of the United States. But they keep grubbing for money. Even as Antonin Scalia hasn't even had his funeral yet. And the Republican majority leader of the Senate is pushing out email asking you to sign a petition and make a donation. I'll be right back.